Nancy Kelly, March 25, 1921, January 2, 1995 was an American actress. A child actress and model, she was a repertory cast member of CBS Radio's The March of Time and became a movie leading lady in the late 1930s, while still in her teens. She made 36 movies between 1926 and 1977, including portraying Tyrone Power's love interest in the classic Jesse James 1939, which also featured Henry Fonda, and playing opposite Spencer Tracy and Stanley and Livingstone later that same year. She had her greatest success in a character role, the suicidal mother in The Bad Seed, receiving a Tony Award for the 1955 stage production and an Academy Award nomination for the 1956 film adaptation. Biography. Of Irish descent, Kelly was born in Lowell, Massachusetts, into a theatrical family. Her mother was silent film actress Nan Kelly, who coached her and managed her career. As a child actress, Kelly appeared in 52 films made on the East Coast by the age of 17. Her younger brother was actor Jack Kelly, most noted for playing the lead alongside James Garner or Roger Moore from 1957 to 1962 in the television series Maverick. As a child model, her image had appeared in so many different advertisements by the time she was 9 years old that Film Daily commented, "Nancy has been referred to as the most photographed child in America, largely because of her commercial posing." Kelly worked extensively in radio in her adolescent years. She played Dorothy Gale in a 1933-34 radio show, The Wizard of Oz, based on The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Kelly was the first ingenue on CBS Radio's The March of Time series, with a vocal versatility that made it possible for her to portray male parts as well as female. She also portrayed Eleanor Roosevelt. 434 to 435. As an adult, she was a leading lady in 27 movies in the 1930s and 40s, including director John Ford's Submarine Patrol, the comedy He Married His Wife with Joel McCrea, Frontier Marshal with Randolph Scott as Wyatt Earp, and Tarzan's Desert Mystery with Johnny Weissmuller. Kelly was subsequently a two-time winner of the Sarah Siddons Award for her work in Chicago theater as well as a Tony Award winner for her performance in The Bad Seed, which she followed up by starring in the 1956 film version, receiving a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actress. She also starred on television, including leading roles in the Storm 1961 episode of Thriller and the Lonely Hours 1963 episode of The Alfred Hitchcock Hour. In 1957 she was nominated at the 9th Primetime Emmy Awards for an Emmy Award for Best Single Performance by an Actress for the episode The Pilot in Studio One. Marriages. Kelly's was married to actor Edmund O'Brien briefly from 1941 to 1942. And then to Fred Jackman Jr., son of silent Hollywood cameraman and director Fred Jackman from 1946 to 1950. She was married to theater director Warren Caro from 1955 to 1968. She and Caro had a daughter, Kelly Caro, in 1957. Death. Kelly died at her Bel Air, California, home on January 2, 1995, from complications of diabetes at the age of 73. She was survived by a daughter and 3 granddaughters. She was interred in the Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles. Walk of Fame. For her contribution to the motion picture industry, she has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 7021 Hollywood Boulevard. She was inducted on February 8, 1960. Filmography. The Untamed Lady 1926 with Gloria Swanson. Miss Mates 1926 with Warner Baxter. The Great Gatsby 1926 with Warner Baxter and William Powell. Girl on the Barge 1929 with Jean Hersholt. Glorifying the American Girl 1929, uncredited with Mary Eaton. Convention Girl 1935 with Shem Howard. Submarine Patrol 1938, directed by John Ford with Preston Foster and George Bancroft. Jesse James 1939 with Tyrone Power, Henry Fonda, and Randolph Scott. Tailspin 1939 with Alice Faye, Constance Bennett, Charles Farrell, and Jane Wyman. Frontier Marshal 1939 with Randolph Scott as Wyatt Earp. Stanley and Livingstone 1939 with Spencer Tracy and Walter Brennan. He Married His Wife 1940 with Joel McCrea. Sailor's Lady 1940 with Joan Davis and Dana Andrews. Private Affairs 1940 with Hugh Herbert and Robert Cummings. One Night in the Tropics 1940 with Alan Jones and Abbott Costello. Scotland Yard 1941 with Edmund Gwenn. A Very Young Lady 1941 with Jane Withers. Parachute Battalion 1941 with Robert Preston, Edmund O'Brien, Harry Carey, and Buddy Ebsen. Fly By Night 1942, directed by Robert C. Odmack with Richard Carlson. To the Shores of Tripoli 1942 with John Payne, Maureen O'Hara, and Randolph Scott. Friendly Enemies 1942 with Charles Ruggles. Tornado 1943 with Chester Morris. Women in Bondage 1943 with Gail Patrick. Tarzan's Desert Mystery 1943 with Johnny Weissmuller. Gambler's Choice 1944 with Chester Morris. Show Business 1944 with Eddie Cantor and George Murphy. Double Exposure 1944 with Chester Morris. Betrayal from the East 1945 with Lee Tracy. Song of the Sarong 1945 with William Gargan. The Woman Who Came Back 1945 with John Loder and Otto Kruger. Follow That Woman 1945 with William Gargan and Regis Toomey. Murder in the Music Hall 1946 with Vera Ralston. Crowded Paradise 1956 with Hume Cronin. The Bad Seed 1956 with Patricia McCormack. Murder at the World Series 1975 with Linda DeGeorge. Radio appearances. Year program episode/source. 1945 Suspense A Week Ago Wednesday. 1946 Suspense Dark Journey. 1946 Suspense. Suspense episode 169 A Week Ago Wednesday aired November 29, 1945.